Right now, without realizing it, you are being manipulated. The app you checked before clicking on this video was not designed to be useful. It was not designed to be entertaining. It was designed by teams of neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and engineers who studied your brain more carefully than your own doctor ever has, to be impossible to put down. Every notification, every infinite scroll, every like button, every autoplay, every red dot on an icon. None of it happened by accident. All of it was engineered, tested on hundreds of millions of people, refined through thousands of experiments, and optimized for one specific biological vulnerability that every human being on Earth shares. And by the time this video ends, you will be able to see exactly what is being done to your brain every single time you pick up your phone, and you will never look at an app the same way again. To understand how apps hack your brain, you first need to understand the one chemical that controls almost everything you do: dopamine. Dopamine is not, as most people believe, the pleasure chemical. That is one of the most widespread misconceptions in neuroscience. Dopamine is not released when you feel pleasure. Dopamine is released in anticipation of a reward. It is the chemical of wanting, not the chemical of having. When a rat in a laboratory presses a lever and receives food, dopamine spikes before the food arrives, during the pressing, during the waiting. When the food actually arrives, dopamine levels drop back down. The wanting is where the neurological action is. Your brain evolved this system over millions of years because anticipation drives behavior. An animal that feels intense chemical motivation to pursue food, to pursue mates, to pursue safety, survives. An animal that feels nothing until the reward arrives is slow, passive, and dead. Dopamine made us the most behaviorally driven species on Earth. And then Silicon Valley figured out how to hack it. The foundational discovery that every modern app is built on was made not by a technology company, but by a psychologist named B.F. Skinner in the 1950s. Skinner was studying how animals learn behaviors, and he discovered something that fundamentally changed our understanding of motivation. When he gave rats food every time they pressed a lever, they pressed it regularly, predictably, efficiently, and then they stopped when they were full. But when he changed the schedule so that pressing the lever only sometimes produced food, in unpredictable intervals, something completely different happened. The rats became obsessive. They pressed the lever constantly, compulsively, far beyond any rational need for food. They pressed it when they weren't hungry. They pressed it when exhausted. They pressed it in preference to other activities they had previously enjoyed. The uncertainty of the reward, the possibility that this time might be the time, produced a level of behavioral compulsion that consistent rewards never could. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement. Casinos have known about it for decades. It is why slot machines are the most profitable product the gambling industry has ever produced. And it is the exact mechanism that determines what happens to your brain every time you pull down to refresh your Instagram feed. Pull to refresh is a slot machine. This is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It is a deliberate design decision by engineers who knew precisely what they were building. When you pull down on a feed, you do not know what you are going to get. Sometimes you pull and there is nothing new. Sometimes you pull and there is a post from someone you care about. Sometimes you pull and there is a video that makes you laugh or feel something. The uncertainty is the mechanism. The dopamine spike happens during the pull, during the fraction of a second before the content loads, when your brain is flooded with the neurochemistry of anticipation. This is why you check your phone 30, 40, 50 times a day, even when you know intellectually there is probably nothing new. Your brain is not looking for information. Your brain is operating the slot machine, chasing the unpredictable reward that comes sometimes, not always, but just often enough to make stopping feel neurologically impossible. Notifications are a masterclass in hijacking the brain's threat detection system. Your brain evolved a mechanism for detecting potential threats in your environment: a rustle in the grass, a sound behind you, a change in the visual field. This mechanism activates instantly, involuntarily, before conscious thought. It is designed to override whatever you are doing and redirect your attention to the potential threat. A notification on your phone, the buzz, the chime, the red number on an icon, triggers this exact system. Your brain cannot distinguish between a genuine threat and a social media notification because the threat detection system evolved millions of years before smartphones existed. The red dot on an app icon is red specifically because red activates threat detection more powerfully than any other color. The buzz of a notification interrupts your focus with the same neurological urgency as a fire alarm, And every time you check the notification, your brain delivers a small dopamine reward for having responded to a potential threat. You are being conditioned, precisely like Skinner's rats, to respond to a stimulus that the device controls completely. The like button deserves its own chapter in the history of behavioral manipulation. When you post something on a platform, you do not know how many people will like it. You do not know when the likes will arrive. Sometimes a post you thought was good receives almost nothing. Sometimes something you barely thought about generates an unexpected flood of responses. This unpredictability is not a flaw in the system. It was engineered into the system deliberately. Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, said publicly in 2017 that the team designing Facebook explicitly asked themselves, "How do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible?" And their answer was, "We need to give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while." Someone liked or commented on a photo or post. It is a social validation feedback loop, and they knew exactly what they were exploiting. Approval from other humans is one of the most powerful motivators in our evolutionary history. Social acceptance meant survival. Social rejection meant death in small tribal groups. The like button digitized social approval, made it countable, made it intermittent, and attached it to a dopamine delivery system that runs 24 hours a day on a device in your pocket. Infinite scroll was invented by a designer named Asa Raskin in 2006. He has since publicly apologized for it. Before infinite scroll, web pages had page numbers. You would reach the bottom of a page and make a deliberate decision to continue to the next one. The pause between pages gave your brain a natural stopping point, a moment where your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious decision-making and self-control, could evaluate whether you actually wanted to keep going. Infinite scroll eliminated that pause entirely. There is no bottom. There is no page 2. There is no moment where your brain receives a natural signal that this chapter is ending. Asa Raskin has estimated that the removal of that single decision point costs humanity around 200,000 hours of collective human attention every single day, just on his invention. And his invention is just one of dozens of design decisions in every app specifically optimized to prevent your prefrontal cortex from ever getting the chance to ask, "Do I actually want to keep doing this?" Autoplay is the nuclear option. When a video ends, the next one begins automatically after a countdown of 5 seconds. 5 seconds is not an accident. Behavioral research shows that 5 seconds is long enough to make the pause feel deliberate, but short enough that your brain cannot fully disengage from the rewarding state the previous content created. Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, all of them studied the exact optimal countdown duration to minimize the number of people who actually stop. The autoplay feature means that you never actually decide to watch another video. You decide once to begin watching, and then the platform makes every subsequent decision on your behalf. The average person watches significantly more content in autoplay sessions than in sessions where they manually select each video. The system is designed to turn watching from an active choice into a passive drift. The attention economy is the name economists have given to this entire system. In the attention economy, your attention is the product being sold. The platforms are not selling you content, they are selling your attention to advertisers. Every minute you spend on an app is a minute of your cognitive capacity being monetized by someone else. The entire design of every major social platform, every dark pattern, every notification, every algorithmically optimized feed is optimized not for your benefit or your well-being, but for the extraction of the maximum possible quantity of your attention over the maximum possible period of your life. The executives running these companies have known this since the beginning. Many of them have policies about how much screen time their own children are allowed. The people who built the most attention-extracting machines in human history largely do not use those machines themselves. Understanding this does not immediately fix it. The mechanisms described in this video do not stop working once you know about them. Knowledge of a slot machine's design does not eliminate the dopamine response to pulling the lever, but awareness changes your relationship to these systems in a way that no other intervention fully replicates. When you feel the pull to check your phone for no reason, you now know exactly what is happening in your neurology and exactly why the designers of that app wanted you to feel precisely that pull at precisely that moment. That knowledge is not nothing. It is, in fact, the only genuinely powerful tool you have against systems that have spent billions of dollars studying how to override your self-control. The apps know your brain. Now you do too. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I'm Core, and I've been running at maximum dopamine suppression this entire video.